everyone, I have a really great project for you today. It features our button project kits, and you might remember Jenny's Christmas box last year had a really cute snowflake in it, and today I'm going to be showing you this adorable wreath featured in this wall hanging that you can change out for the seasons. So let me show you how to make it. All right, I'm super excited about today's project. It's so fun because this panel here in the middle can be removed and switched out depending on the season. So when you make this wall hanging, you can switch it out whether you want to have just a plain quilt block or more of these button project kits down the road to just go along with whatever season or whatever holiday you're celebrating. So let me show you what you're going to need to make this. Up first, of course, you're going to pick whatever project kit you want. Just a reminder, this just includes the pattern and all the supplies, including the buttons, but no fabric. And so you're going to need fabric in addition to that. So I have been using all Kona cottons for this. So we have white, you'll need 1 1/3 yards. Black, you need 7/8 yards. And of this gray, which is called overcast, you're going to need 2/3 yards. It's also helpful to have a squaring tool. So I'm using the Clearly Perfect slotted trimmer and a little bit of fusible. If you have a scrap, that'll probably be enough. It's just for the letters that you see here, so let me show you how to make it. All right, so up first, I have cut a 6-inch square of both my black and my white fabric, and we are going to use these to make some half square triangles. So I'm actually going to stack these on top of one another, make sure they're all lined up, and then I'm going to use my ruler. This is a little short, but I can make it work. Slide that down to the opposite point. And we are going to draw an X in both directions. Here we go. Just like so. And so now I'm going to take this to the machine and I'm going to sew 1/4 inch away from those lines that we drew on both sides of each of them. This is the Easy 8 method. So now let's go ahead and stitch down this side. There we go. Lift our presser foot and we can come back around the other side. There we go. And do the same thing on the other line that we drew. So again, down this first side. And then swing around and go back down the other side. Okay, so now I have that stitched on both sides of the line that we drew. And I'm going to get just a little bit longer ruler just to make it easier on myself. And so I'm going to cut this in half, which means it should come in 3 inches since we're using a 6-inch square. Okay, so I just come from here. And so this one actually has that 1/2 inch hanging over, which can kind of confuse us sometimes. I'm actually really grateful that I cut that right. And I'm going to flip this around so it's a straight 1, 2, 3 inches. And it should be going right through where you stitched. There we go. All right, and now we have these individual pieces, and I can just use my small ruler here and cut right in between on the line that we drew. And this gives us 8 individual half square triangles. And so you're going to have to repeat this a few times to get the number that you need for this project. But now we're going to square these to 2.5. Trim our little edges. I'm just going to square 4. So if you've never used the Clearly Perfect slotted trimmer before, you're going to line your stitch line up with the dashed line on the ruler of the size you're looking for, and then trim. And you can also get rid of these little tabs that hang over. That gets rid of some of the bulk for you. So let's go ahead and cut a few more. And I'm sliding it over to one side, which means I only have to make one cut. And I like to do that as often as I can just to save a little bit of time. Here's our last one. So now we can take these to the ironing board and we're going to press them open. And so I always want to press my seams to the dark side, which means I'm going to have the dark side facing up and roll these back gently. And then our seam will be hidden under the black fabric. All right, and so every single one of your half square triangles is going to be assembled in the same way. You are going to make some pinwheels, just like so. Oops, make sure I've got it right. Spin it one more time. There we go. And then we're just going to sew these together like a 4-patch. So I'm going to take these to the machine. And I like to make sure that seam is kind of nested there in the middle so it's nice and crisp. And there's that one. And then we can just chain piece the other one right behind it. Okay. And now I'll just open these up right here at my sewing machine. Make sure they're going the right way, and they are. And then I can just fold them over and finish our little pinwheel. Take a few stitches, and then I'm going to stop, and I'm going to make sure that my middle is nested. So I'm having those seams go in opposite directions so I can feel that they're locked in place. And then I stitch to the middle and then line up my end and cruise on down. There we go. There's our little pinwheel. That turns out so cute. So let's just give that a press. I like to hold that on there till everything lays nice and flat. We have our adorable little pinwheel block. And so now what you're going to do is you're going to stitch 4 of those together. So here we go, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're going to make 2 sets exactly like that. So I have those ready to go here, and we're just going to set them aside for now. And then we're going to move on to the letters that you see here. And so to begin, you are going to use the pattern and trace your letters. Make sure they're, reversed onto your fusible. So I have that done here. And then we're going to press the bumpy side, the side with the glue, to a piece of our black fabric. So let's go ahead and take this to the ironing board, and we can press that in place. And then we're just going to cut these out. And so now these are going to get put onto a 3.5 inch by 16.5 inch background rectangle. So I've gone ahead and cut that out of my gray. So I'm going to take my rectangle and all of my letters over to the pressing mat, and then we'll line this up over there. So let's go ahead and do that. And so now I'm just going to press this so that it lays nice and flat and I get any of the wrinkles that were in it out of the way. And then I can peel off the paper backing from my letters, and I just like to give it a little crease, and then it peels right off. This is also a great project for the kids. If you're watching a movie, you can just hand it to them and have them help you, or your husband or a friend, whoever. Easy way to get other people involved. And so I'm just going to peel these off, and I'm just eyeballing this for now. And so now these are going to get put onto a 3.5 inch by 16.5 inch background rectangle. So I've gone ahead and cut that out of my gray. So I'm going to take my rectangle and all of my letters over to the pressing mat, and then we'll line this up over there. So let's go ahead and do that. And so now I'm just going to press this so that it lays nice and flat and I get any of the wrinkles that were in it out of the way. And then I can peel off the paper backing from my letters, and I just like to give it a little crease, and then it peels right off. This is also a great project for the kids. If you're watching a movie, you can just hand it to them and have them help you, or your husband or a friend, whoever. Easy way to get other people involved. And so I'm just going to peel these off, and I'm just eyeballing this for now, and I'm not worrying about them being too straight right now. We'll get that all right before we fuse them. We're just getting the paper off. So I am just going to grab my little ruler just to help me out a bit. And so I like to make sure that I have about 3/4 of an inch from the bottom edge. And so I'm just going to eyeball and keep these lined up and work my way across. We're not striving for perfection, just trying to enjoy this whole process. There we go. And I'm just going to check and make sure my both ends are close to the same distance. Got about 1.25 inches there. And it looks like I've got a little bit more here, so I can slide this way just a bit. Now, I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to call that good. If you wanted to, you could, make these all wonky, however you like it. I'm just going to carefully press my iron straight down, hold it, and lift. When you're working with letters and applique shapes like this, you don't want to ever slide your iron. You run the risk of flipping up an edge and it's sticking to the bottom of your iron, which would be a sad day. So that is all ready to go. Ta-da! Looks really cute. And so now you'll use whatever applique stitch you like. You can do just a simple straight stitch, a zigzag, blanket stitch, whatever you prefer, to just adhere this down. I'm going to skip that for today, but you can see on the quilt behind me, I've just done a simple little straight stitch around the edge to hold that in place. So now let's move on to our next step, which is our background square. So this is actually the piece that goes behind the button panel that you see, because this is removable and can be changed out. So we're adding this square here, but up first, we want to sew this to the bottom side, and we're going to add 1 set of our pinwheels to the top. So let's go ahead and grab those, and then I can sew both of these at the machine. So we're going to add this one, and then when we finish those, we'll add our other set of pinwheels to the bottom. Just make sure everything is lined up. Spin that around. I'm going to add my pinwheels. All right, I have got this all sewn together. I just need to press this last section of my pinwheels. So let's go ahead and do that. I want to make sure all those seams are going towards that gray background, just to help hide them a little bit. And then to finish this off, all we're going to do is add 1.5 inches border of our gray, and then 1.5 inches border of our black. Once we have all that done, we're going to send this off to be quilted, or quilted at home, however you want to do that, and then we'll be ready for the next step. So let me show you how to do the button panel in the center. Okay, so to begin, I have cut a piece of my white background, and I sent that to quilting, so originally larger than it is here. Then I trimmed it up to 15.5 inches square and went ahead and bound that outer edge. And so all of that needs to be done before you move on to adding the buttons. So I've done that here. And so let's open up this button kit so you can see what all comes inside. So I'm just gonna open this here. There is a marking pencil, a pattern that is color-coded to the different buttons that you'll be needing. So that's all there, and then the buttons are in individual packages like this by color, and so it helps to keep everything organized. And then there's also a little pillow project pattern that is included in there as well if you decide you would like to make that. And so now I want to say, if you got Jenny's box, Courtney did a fabulous tutorial where she walks you through every step of making a project with one of these button kits. So I'm just going to touch on it. If you want to, we'll link in the description below so you can go and watch that full deep dive that she did. But essentially, we just want to center this up, and we're going to go through and use our pencil. And if it were me, just because I like to have an order of things, I'd probably start with like all of these red circles here, and I just mark all my centers with my pencil, all these reds that are the same size. And then I'd open up my package of buttons, And I make sure that I have those sizes correct, so you can just test that down here. So then when I pull this off, I know that one of these buttons is going to go exactly where each of those marks is. And so you just kind of have to start somewhere. And I believe stitching this by hand would be the easiest, but you of course can sew your buttons on by machine. So just take your time, go through this, and get all of your buttons added. And then let me pull this down from the panel here to show you how we finished it off. And then now let's take a look at this panel. So the next thing that we did is we added our Velcro. And so I would actually go ahead and use my squares. Here we go. And here's my piece that I haven't stitched down. And so I would place this here and I would stitch all the way around and then add an X just for stability. So let's go ahead and do that. And so I'm just going to measure in 1 inch from the top and 1 inch from the side. And now we can take this to the machine. Of course, you're going to want to switch out your thread to whatever color matches your background, because you just want this to kind of disappear. And then we're just going to pivot and make our way around those 1 inch little rectangles. So I'm keeping my needle down and just going all the way around this square. And then once I get to that corner, I'm going to go to the opposite corner. And then I'll add one more row of stitches, excuse me, going the other way, just to make sure it's nice and secure. So then we're going to attach the opposite side of that Velcro to the background here, and I've just stitched it the same way, so around that box and then corner to corner in both directions. And the pattern has the exact measurement, so those will all match up nicely for you. And so I do want to talk about, you know, this version that I showed you. When you stitch on all the buttons, you're going to see all the knots on the back from where you've added your buttons. And for me, that doesn't really matter because you're going to hang it up and nobody's ever going to see the back side of this little wall hanging. But if that's going to bother you and you know it, there is included in the pattern the option to wait to add the binding, and then once you've added all the buttons, you just cut an extra panel for the back, add your Velcro, and then bind it. And so then it just gives you a really beautiful finish. And now we can hang this back up in here, just like so. And our beautiful wall hanging is done. We can change it out for the seasons. And remember, if you're not up to doing this button project, you can just add an adorable quilt block right there in the middle. So tons of options to make it your own. So I hope you enjoy this, and I'll see you next time on At Home. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching At Home. We're so excited to be almost 1 million quilters strong here at Missouri Star. And so if you haven't already joined our family, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of all of our future tutorials. And we'll see you soon.